Hey guys, welcome to a new Unreal Engine tutorial series. In this series, I'm going to teach you guys how to go from absolute beginner to making your own games in Unreal Engine. So, Unreal Engine can be very scary, and I'm going to split this into sections. The first section is simple level design. We'll get to programming later. And in this first tutorial, you guys will just be learning how to make basic levels by moving blocks around and adding materials, and it looks very basic. But you got to get started with the basics and learn how to actually use the layout before you can start making games. But it's going to be a really quick 10-minute tutorial, and it'll be very easy, so let's get started. Okay, so before we get started, I want to show you guys my brand new RPG that I've been working on for about 8 months now. It's my dream RPG that I've been working on with Unreal Engine, and in this game you can fight monsters, explore a new world, unlock new weapons, fight demons, and you can even transform into a dragon later in the game, spoiler alert, and engage in epic combat as you dive into your quest. So make sure you wishlist this game on Steam. The demo is going to be out in about a week, and let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is download the Epic Games Launcher, because Unreal Engine is associated with Epic Games. And then once you get the Epic Games Launcher, all you want to do is open it up, click on the Unreal Engine on the tab, it should be there, and then click on Library, Engine Versions, click Plus, add your version. I'm using 5.0.3, and then just click Launch once it's done downloading. Pretty straightforward. And then what you want to do here, I already have one open, but once you open Unreal Engine like this, just let it load for a little bit. It might take a little bit for the first time. Shouldn't take too long though. However, for you, if you just got Unreal Engine, it might take longer. And then on the side, click on Games, and then click on a template. Let's just do third person for now because it's very straightforward and it works for everything. And then use Blueprint, not C++, because the Blueprint is more beginner friendly. And then use Desktop, quality preset, keep it maximum, and check the starter content, make sure that's checked. Name this whatever you want, and then click Create. And then once you have your project, it should open up like this. Make sure that it's done. Make sure it's open up and you can play. You can click the green button to click play if you want, and mess around a little bit. And then just click escape to get out of the game. And then your layout might look a little bit different than mine. That's okay. I just messed around with it a little bit, but mine should look similar to yours, and you can always move around tabs. Now this might look very scary at first, but I'm gonna teach you one step at a time so that I make it easy for you guys. First up, right here, the main screen right here is the viewport, and to move around it's pretty straightforward. You just right click and move around the mouse like you would in any video game, like first person, to move the camera. You can use WASD to move around. You could scroll with the wheel. And then let's say I get lost. Let's say I want to go here all the time, but then I get lost and I need to go back. What I like to do is set a bookmark. So what you do is go where you want. Let's say right here. Click Control and 1. Control and then 1. And let's say I move away from it. If I click 1, it's going to take me back. And I can set multiple bookmarks. So let's say I do right here, I can do Control 2. And let's say I go farther away, I can just click 2, it'll take me here. That's pretty useful. And then another thing in the viewport I want to teach you is, let's say you click on an object, you just left click on an object to click it, and it should have an outline, an orange outline. Let's say I want to zoom in on it to get more focus. I just click F for focus, and it will zoom in on the object like that. And then right here, down here, you should have the content browser. You can also do Control and space to open one and close it. And in your content browser, I like to dock it on the side. Just click dock and layout, and that's why mine's stuck here. And then make sure you're on content, and then there's a bunch of folders here basically where you drag in your assets for your games, and this is where you get all the characters and stuff you need for your game. You just drag them in. And then on this side, if you ever get lost, you can look through the folders in here. And then out here, if you click on the details right here, let's say I click on an object, this is basically going to have all the information about it. So the model, the transform, and everything here. And then let's say I want to move the transform, like so. It's going to update over here, or I can set the number and mess around with it. We'll focus more on transforms later though. And then we have place actors. This is pretty straightforward. You can search up whatever you want. You can go to basic and find something simple. What I like to do is go to shapes, and then you can drag in any object you want, like a cube, or sphere. And then you can either delete it with the delete key, or you can do Control Z to undo your mistake, okay? And next up, we got world settings. Don't worry about this right now. It looks kind of scary. Don't need to worry about it right now. On outliner, right here, it's just a list of every single object in the game world right now. And you can always search for your object up here. Now, the next thing I want to show you is how to move an object. So if you click on an object, you see these little arrows right here. That is for location. So up on the top here, you got a bunch of different options. You can go on select, or you can go on this move tool right here, which is the basic one right here, where you can move it. As you see, there's arrows for the X, Y, and Z, and you can just drag those arrows on any axis you want to move it up, down, left, or right, and do Control Z if you want to undo. And then over here we have rotation, and same thing, you can rotate it on any axis you want, pretty straightforward. And then you have scale right here. You can scale it on any axis you want. So make sure to give that a try. And then the shortcuts for this is W for movement, for that, E for rotation, and then R for scale. And then right here, this is basically how much it snaps, because Unreal Engine uses the grid to move things around. So right here, this is the grid for the movement. Let's click on it. I can disable the grid and it will move very smoothly. Or I can enable it by clicking it and set the value from like 10. Let's say you click something like 10,000, then it's going to be snapped so hard that it'll be stuck and you won't be able to move it very well. So let's say I want to go move it, it wouldn't move because the grid is snapping so hard. That's a mistake that used to happen to me. It would randomly go to 10,000 and I wouldn't be able to move my characters and I wouldn't know why. So it's very important to have this set to a good value like 10. And you can do the same with rotation and scale as well. Pretty straight. Okay, so the next thing I want to teach you is how to duplicate an object, okay? So one easy way is you can do Control Z, Control V, just copy and paste. However, that's pretty boring. It takes you quite a bit. One faster way to do it is hold Control and D at the same time for duplicate. And that's not too bad, but there's an even faster way, okay? You can hold Alt and left click on the axis. So let's say I hold Alt and left click on the X-axis. I can duplicate it off of the X-axis like so and drag out and then just let go. And I can keep on holding Alt, left click on the axis to duplicate it in any direction I want, like that. Just pretty straightforward. It's a very easy way to move your objects around. And then last thing I want to teach you before your challenge for the tutorial is how to make a material. So on the content browser, everything is organized in folders. That makes it easier. So let's say we need to make a new folder. Just right click. Don't worry about all this scary stuff. Just see new folder, click that, name this whatever you want. I'm gonna call it material. And then just to make it easier to find, if you right click, there's a set color right here. Click that and you can use a color wheel to color whatever you want. I like to do like blue or red to make it easier to see, and then click OK. That just makes it easier to see. It doesn't really do much. And just click it. And then if you want to make a material, just right click. And then everything here, don't worry about it. Just look for this thing called material. It should look like this. And then from here, you can name it whatever you want. I'll just name it red. And then let's say you want to rename it because you messed up. You can right click and you click rename. Or you can click on the material and then click F2 on your keyboard and then rename it there. And then just double left click to open it up. And then open full screen right here. Now this is going to look pretty scary. It's going to be a bit of coding that we have to do to make this work. Really quick, I want to show you how to move around. You can just right click on the actual grid and just drag it to move around, pretty straightforward. And you can scroll to zoom in and out. And left click is to select. So really quick, this right here is just another viewport to view your material, okay? And that the material is just going to be the color on the sphere is the material you use, okay? And this right here is basically all the information about your material, and we can plug different info into these different nodes to make it work. So don't worry if it sounds complicated. I want to teach you how to add color. So you can right click to search up a node, and then let's say I look up constant. You want to get constant 3 vector, and then you can left click and drag this out. And this is basically a blueprint. Blueprints use nodes, and like they have these white nodes like right here. You can just left click and drag it out to pull it out like spaghetti, and you just drag it into anywhere you want. So you want to plug this into the base color, and basically this constant 3 vector is a color. It's basically a color number, and it has info for what color you're going to use for your base color of your material. So right here on the side where it says constant, double click on the color, set it to whatever you want. Let's say I do red. You can bring up the brightness so that you can actually see it right here, and you can click OK. It's going to adjust, and it should become a red material based off what color you chose. Then you can just click apply and save. Pretty straightforward right there, nothing too complicated yet. And then just minimize out of it, and from here there's multiple ways to add a material to your object. So I can just left click, hold it out, and then drag it onto the object like that, or I can undo that. I can select the object like so, and then I can go on details, and then right here where it says drag down, where it says materials, right here I can click on the drop down. I can search up for red, or what I could do is I can click this reset button right here and go to the default value. I can click on the material right here on the content browser, and then you see this little arrow right here. I can click that, and that's going to plug in the selected object I have, which is the red material, and boom, I have a material in there. So go ahead and make some more materials if you want and mess around and add some materials. But what if you want to add a texture so you can have stuff like grass and rock and stuff? It's pretty simple. All you got to do is go to your browser and then look up what material you want. So let's say I want to do a rock texture. I go to images, find the one I want. Let's say I want to do this one right here. I right click, save image as, and then save this as whatever file you want. I'll just say rock. I'll put in my downloads, and I click save. And then from here, what you would do is on your downloads, use a rock get your rock file or whatever texture you chose. It just has to be an image file, a JPEG or a PNG, and drag it out into here. Now sometimes certain files don't work, so it just depends on the file you have. But typically, if it's a PNG or JPEG, it should work. However, if it doesn't work, then just use a different image. Just drag it in, and it should work. And you should get an imported texture right here. If I double click it, you can see it's just a basic texture. Don't have to worry about that. You just close out of it. Don't worry about all the rest of that. And then let's say I want to add a texture to material. So I'm gonna right click, create a new material. I'll just call this rock. Rock underscore matte, because you can't use spaces on your engine. And then double click it to open. And now let's say I want to add the texture. What you can do is you can right click and search up texture coordinate. Texture sample, like so. And then right here it says texture. I can look for the rock texture I just added, and then I can plug it into the base color. And now we got an actual texture. Now one other thing you could do is, instead of doing all that, I could just do control space to open up my content browser, go to material, find the texture. I could just drag it out and then plug it in. Or an even easier way you can do is just hold T and left click for a texture sample, and then I can plug in the texture I want. So pretty straightforward. You already got a material. Looks pretty cool so far. A lot more better looking than just a basic color. And let's apply. And then save. And then once it's done saving, I can just add this material to anything I want. Like so. And textures really can make or break your game, because textures is what makes the graphics look so much better. Like without textures, games do not look the same way. So you can just add the texture anywhere you want, like so. But let's say I think the texture is too shiny. I can open the material. Now you can hold one and left click for a constant node. A constant is basically just a number, and I can set this value to whatever I want, like 1. And I can plug it into what I want, so let's plug it into roughness. And as you'll see here, it's completely rough, not shiny at all. The reason for that is this number, it goes from percentage wise, so 1 is 100%, and like let's say 0.8, that'd be 80%. And if I put on 1 and I put that into the roughness, I'm saying it's 100% roughness, and that's why it's not gonna have any more shininess to it. So if I apply it and save it, minimize this, you can see there's no roughness in it, and I can just mess around and put this in here for my materials. So your challenge is to make your own very basic level that you can play around in. So I'll just time lapse me adding materials and making a quick level, and then in order to pass this tutorial you need to make your own level by yourself, and you'll officially learn how to make basic levels in Unreal Engine, which is pretty impressive. And then I can go and test it out. Just click, by the way, so to play your game on the top, just click this green play button, and then you can go ahead and move around with WSD. It's basic third person movement by default, so we're pretty lucky that we have it. I can mess around, try doing this, and part of game testing is realizing if platforms are too big or not. It's important to test your game out. So for right now, just mess around with your game and enjoy the little level that you made. So thanks for watching, I'll see you guys later. Don't forget to wish this Kira Legend on Steam.